Peter King, Football Morning in America columnist, Pro Football Talk, was writing of the draft. Well, he's writing in general. He said, I think this is my favorite analysis of Tua Tagovailoa from one of my favorite analysts, Dan Orlovsky. Quote, it's going to take a courageous general manager to draft him, and it's going to take a courageous general manager to pass on him. When Orlovsky told me that, I immediately thought of two teams, Detroit picking third and Miami picking fifth. How can Tagovailoa get past Miami? That's my first thought. But if you're Detroit, Matthew Stafford's been a quarterback there 11 seasons. He's never won a playoff game, and the Lions are 13 games under 500 in games he starts. And he's entering his age 32 season. Sometimes, even when something's not your fault, it might be time to wipe the slate clean. If the Lions draft Tua and keep Stafford this year, then cut Stafford in 2021, that's a $19 million cap hit, when the cap will likely be well over $200 million the first year of the new CBA, assuming no work stoppage, per over the cap. The Lions at minimum should do very serious homework on Alabama quarterback coming back from his hip injury. I'd be concerned with 2 high ankle sprains and hip surgery in the span of 13 months. But that's something you better be sure of if you pick him. But if you get past that, how do you pass on him, even with a decent quarterback situation on your team? Now, look, there is a lot of growing Tua love in Detroit. And I understand it. I get it. I personally wouldn't do it. I'm not in favor of it. But it's not like the dumbest thing I've ever heard either. So I'm okay with people who want to draft Tua Tagovailoa. Again, it's not the approach I would take. But, you know, we're presuming all the medicals are okay on Tua, or maybe they're in question with Stafford, whatever. But here is the ultimate question you have to ask yourself, because you cannot talk about one without talking about the other. And this is a great point. I want to give credit where credit is due. It was made by Kyle Bogey this morning on the morning show. And the question was as follows. For those of you that are in favor of drafting Tua, and I'm not talking to a small portion of the population out there, wrap your head around this. The Lions front office and coach have been given a mandate to compete for the playoffs. Drafting a player with the pick at 3 that most likely would redshirt, that most likely would sit out the year, is wasting a resource that could help you win now. So the question is, if Bob Quinn wants to draft Tua, what you want, and Bob Quinn goes to Martha and says, look, you've given us this mandate, but the best thing for this organization is to draft Tua Tagovailoa. But if we draft Tua Tagovailoa, we are turning our back on ourselves and the resource that could help us win now. But I'm telling you, Martha, you're going to wish you drafted Tua. And if I had job security, I would draft Tua. But you told me I got to win now. And Martha said, okay, I'll back off. Draft Tua. Would you be okay with that? Would you be okay with Quinn and Patricia getting a timeline of the beginning of Tua's playing days to stay in charge here in Detroit? That's the question. Because it feels like one can't happen without the other. Can you have a mandate to win now and draft a draft pick that's not going to play? Can you have a mandate to win now and say, but the best thing is to get Tua and do it? If Quinn and Patricia and the Lions front office evaluates Tua to be everything that you think he's going to be, and I'm talking to the Tua crowd, everything you think he's going to be, are you cool with Quinn and Patricia going to Martha and saying, look, you told us we got to compete for the playoffs, but we evaluate this to be a quarterback you're going to wish you had when the year 2022 rolls around. You're going to wish you had him from 2022 to 2032. We think this guy is a Super Bowl caliber quarterback, and you're going to regret not taking him. And if we had job security, we'd be all on board taking Tua. But you told us we got to win now. And if Martha said, okay, you don't have to win now, take Tua. This is a question specific to the Tua crowd. Are you cool with that? And I credit Kyle Bogey with the question he asked it this morning. Want to hear from our audience. Is that worth it? Is that worth it? Because we're in a weird spot, man. You can't talk about one without the other. You can't talk about a draft pick for the future without talking about who's in charge in the future. If you're at your job and your boss wants you to do something that the guy that replaces you is going to reap the benefits from, would you do it? Like, you already know that it might cost you your job. The guy that replaces you gets to reap the benefits of your smart pick. Would you do it? Which is why Martha may have to back off. Which is why, I mean, maybe look, we can go back to this. She should have fired him in the first place, and we can talk about that, I suppose. But as we usually do here, as we sit on January 20th, 2020, I'm more interested in what's going to happen next than how we got here. And, Peter King, I like Peter King. I respect Peter King. I think Peter King writes some interesting stuff, and this is amongst them. How do you pass on that? How do you pass on him, even with a decent quarterback situation on your team? Talking about the Detroit Lions. So, 248-539-9797. Ticket text 97136. Now, I don't take him. I'm in a dwindling population of those that live on Stafford Island. Planting my flag. I think you can win with this guy. I can win playoff games with this guy. Worst quarterbacks have won Super Bowls than this guy. But you got to build a team around him. I think it's very difficult to find a quarterback better than Stafford. It's not impossible, don't get me wrong, but it's incredibly difficult. It's important. And yet I like building a team that can win around the quarterback. Now, you got to run the ball better. All these teams having success these days are running the ball, and you got to stop the run. 248-539-9797, open lines, ticket texts, and tweets. Let's get back to your phone calls. AJ on a cell. Hi, AJ.
How you doing, sir?
Good.
I say that Martha should draft Tua and still get on the mandate to win this year.
Well, it's not Martha's choice to draft. It would be up to Quinn to draft him.
I agree with Valenti. She should go to him and say, hey, I need this pick. I don't want to pass up on this pick. And draft, because what I'm trying to say is, one, if they lose and everybody get fired, I don't think Stafford going to stay here for a new regime and learn a new system.
Well, look, my question for you, AJ, are you a Tua guy? You want Tua?
Yes.
What if she doesn't? What if she doesn't back off? If the only way that they're going to draft him is if she backs off the mandate, are you good with that?
Not really, because I want them gone, but I want Tua, so I guess I'm in mixed feelings with that.
Well, that's why we asked the question. What do you want more? Do you want Tua more than you want Patricia and Quinn gone?
Okay, well, then if it's like that, then I'm going to have to back off because that's a generation player, and if he's healthy, that'd be good for the Lions.
Okay, I want your perspective. 248-539-9797.